I had just pressed the button on my garage door opener when I heard the most ear-piercing shriek from across the street. "That's my car. He's stealing my car. Someone call 911 right now." The voice belonged to Patricia Brennan, and within seconds, she was frantically dialing 911 herself, pacing back and forth in her bright pink bathrobe while pointing at my driveway like she had just discovered a major crime scene. Her hair was still in curlers and she was waving her free arms so wildly that her coffee mug went flying, splattering across her perfectly manicured lawn. "My name is David Holloway and I'm the kind of person who organizes his garage tools by size and keeps the floor so clean you could eat off it. I work from home as a software consultant, which means I'm around during the day when most of the neighborhood drama unfolds." The HOA president of Riverside Gardens, Patricia Brennan, had been circling my property like a vulture ever since I outbid her son at a public auction for a pristine 2019 BMW 5 Series. The car was sitting right there in my garage, the metallic blue paint gleaming under the LED lights I had installed last summer. I had bought it completely legally with cash I had been saving for 3 years. Ever since I brought that BMW home 2 weeks ago, Patricia had been making increasingly bizarre comments. She would show up at my door with freshly baked cookies, which was suspicious enough since she had never acknowledged my existence in the 5 years I had lived here. "Oh, what a coincidence," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I ordered the exact same model last month. The dealer said it would be here any day now." Then came the more direct approach. "You know, if you ever want to sell that car, I'll give you exactly what you paid for it today." I politely declined every time, explaining that I had been searching for this specific model for months and had no intention of selling. Patricia did not handle rejection well. Within days, the HOA violations started rolling in. First, I received a notice about my garage door being open for excessive periods that compromise neighborhood security standards. The door had been open for exactly 7 minutes while I unloaded groceries. Then came a warning about improper vehicle storage creating visual pollution. The car was parked inside my closed garage. The most ridiculous one claimed my automotive maintenance activities were violating noise ordinances. I had been checking the tire pressure at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. The violations kept escalating in absurdity. She cited me for having reflective surfaces that could blind passing motorists when the sun hit my garage windows. She claimed my driveway needed resurfacing because of microscopic oil stains that required a magnifying glass to see. She even tried to implement a new HOA rule requiring all luxury vehicles to be registered with the board for insurance purposes, which mysteriously only applied to houses on my street. That particular morning started like any other. I needed to drive to a client meeting downtown. So, I grabbed my briefcase and headed to the garage. The moment my garage door began its slow ascent, revealing the BMW inch by inch, Patricia burst out of her house like she had been waiting by the window. Her screech was so loud that several neighbors came out to see what was happening. "Stop him. He's taking my car. That's my brand new BMW that was delivered yesterday. I have the paperwork right here." She was waving what looked like a printed email in the air. "Patricia," I said calmly, stepping out of my garage with my hands visible. "This is my car. I bought it at the county auction 2 weeks ago. You've seen me driving it multiple times." But she was already deep into her performance, tears streaming down her face as she told the 911 operator that I was a dangerous criminal who had somehow stolen her car from her locked garage in the middle of the night and moved it to mine. "He must have hacked my garage door opener," she wailed dramatically. "He's probably been planning this for months. I demand you send officers immediately before he escapes." What Patricia didn't know was that I had anticipated something like this might happen. After the third bogus HOA violation, I had installed security cameras that covered every angle of my property, including a clear view of my garage interior. I also had every piece of documentation for the BMW organized in a folder in my glove compartment, including the original auction listing, the cashier's check receipt, the bill of sale, the title transfer, and even photos from the day I picked it up. Within 10 minutes, 2 police cruisers pulled up to my house. Officers Morrison and Detective Walsh stepped out, looking somewhat bemused by Patricia's continued theatrical performance. She had now added claims that I was running a sophisticated auto theft ring and that they should check my garage for other stolen vehicles. She insisted I had been stalking her to find out when her car would be delivered so I could steal it at the perfect moment. "Good morning, officers," I said with a pleasant smile, walking toward them with my hands clearly visible. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding. This is my vehicle purchased legally at a public auction. I have all the documentation right here." I retrieved the folder from the glove compartment and handed it to Officer Morrison, who began examining the papers while Detective Walsh took Patricia's statement. Patricia doubled down on her story, claiming she had an order confirmation number from the dealership and demanding they arrest me immediately. She produced a printed web page that turned out to be a BMW configuration tool showing a build summary for a car she had apparently been designing online. It wasn't even an actual order, just a saved configuration with a reference number. "This proves it's mine," she insisted with a triumphant tone. "I've been waiting for this exact car for weeks." Officer Morrison ran the VIN number through his computer system while Patricia continued her rant about how I had clearly been spying on her emails to steal her dream car. The results came back in less than 2 minutes. "Ma'am," Morrison said slowly, turning to Patricia, "this vehicle is registered to David Holloway. It was purchased at a public auction on October 15th and has been legally registered and insured in his name since October 17th. There's no record of any theft report, and this VIN has never been associated with your name." The look on Patricia's face was priceless. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. But instead of apologizing, she pivoted to an even more outrageous claim. "Well, the HOA has special provisions for community property reassignment in cases of neighborhood safety concerns," she announced with an authoritative tone. "As HOA president, I have the authority to requisition any vehicle that poses a threat to our community standards, and this car is clearly too fancy for him. He's probably involved in something illegal to afford it." Detective Walsh raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, are you seriously claiming that your HOA has the legal authority to confiscate someone's personal vehicle?" Patricia nodded emphatically. "It's in our bylaws. Section 47, subsection C clearly states that any property deemed inconsistent with community harmony can be reassigned by board vote. I held an emergency vote this morning with myself and it passed unanimously. That's when things took a serious turn." Detective Walsh exchanged a look with Officer Morrison and then turned back to Patricia. "Ma'am, I need you to understand something. You've called 911 with a false report of auto theft. You've made fraudulent claims about ownership of a vehicle. You're now claiming legal authority you don't possess to steal someone else's property. These are serious crimes." Patricia's face went from red to pale in seconds. "I'm not lying. I deserve that car more than he does. Do you know who I am? I'm the president of this HOA. I've lived here for 15 years. He's nobody. He probably doesn't even have a real job since he's home all day." She pointed at me accusingly, her hand shaking with rage. "Ma'am," Officer Morrison said firmly, "you need to calm down. Making false reports to law enforcement is a crime. Attempting to use your position to steal someone's property is a crime. We're going to need you to come with us." Patricia's eyes went wide with disbelief. "You can't arrest me. I'm the victim here. Check his garage. There are probably more stolen cars in there." I couldn't help but interject calmly. "Officers, you're welcome to inspect my garage. I have nothing to hide." I pressed the remote to fully open the garage door, revealing my perfectly organized space with the BMW, my old Honda Civic, and walls lined with neatly arranged tools. Patricia pointed frantically at the Honda. "That one that's probably stolen too. No one has 2 cars unless they're a criminal." Detective Walsh had heard enough. "Patricia Brennan, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, attempted fraud, and misuse of emergency services." As Officer Morrison approached with handcuffs, Patricia tried to run back to her house, her slippers flying off her feet as she stumbled across her lawn. She didn't make it far before Morrison caught up to her. The entire neighborhood had come out to watch by this point. At least 20 residents were standing on their lawns or peering through windows, many recording with their phones. Patricia's perfect reputation was crumbling in real time. "This is all a misunderstanding," she screamed as they placed her in handcuffs. I'm being framed. He's the real criminal. Someone call my lawyer. Someone call the HOA board. As they led her to the police car, she turned back to glare at me with pure hatred. You haven't won. I'll sue you for everything. I'll make sure you can never park in this neighborhood again. The HOA will ban you. You'll be sorry you ever crossed me. Officer Morrison gently but firmly guided her into the back seat while reading her rights. Before leaving, Detective Walsh approached me with a business card. Mr. Holloway, we'll need you to come to the station later to provide a full statement. You may also want to consider filing a restraining order and documenting all the harassment you've experienced. Keep all those HOA violations she sent you. They could be evidence of a pattern of harassment. 3 months later, I sat in the courtroom as the judge read Patricia's sentence. The charges had piled up once the investigation began: filing a false police report, attempted grand theft auto through fraudulent means, misuse of 911 services, and criminal harassment. The prosecutor had also discovered she had been embezzling HOA funds to finance her luxury car dreams, which explained why she was so desperate to get her hands on my BMW. The judge's voice was stern as he delivered the verdict. Mrs. Brennan, your actions represent a gross abuse of power and a complete disregard for the law. You weaponized both the HOA and our emergency services for your personal vendetta. Patricia stood there in her conservative suit, a far cry from the pink bathrobe she wore that morning, her face drawn and pale. For the crime of filing a false police report, attempted fraud, and criminal harassment, I sentence you to 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, and $50,000 in restitution to Mr. Holloway for legal fees and damages. You are also permanently barred from serving on any homeowners association board. The gavel came down with a decisive bang. Patricia's legs gave out and her lawyer had to steady her as she sobbed uncontrollably, muttering, "This isn't fair."